604-280-9898, and we'll hear from Jody Emery in a few moments. Trish is on the line. Hi, Trish.
I'm going to get away from the computer because I've got you on. I couldn't get the volume down fast enough.
Okay.
I think you're totally right about that. I mean, Americans have been selling pot seeds for decades. And before they had this war on drugs, we used to get a lot of their imports of marijuana from both Mexico and the United States, California in particular, Jamaica, Cambodia, Afghanistan, Thailand. And this war on drugs isn't a war on drugs. There's more people killed by pharmaceutical wrong prescriptions prescribed. It's totally wrong. I agree with his wife. He's being locked up with people who are hardened criminals and murderers and rapists and stuff. And I think she's totally right to want to keep him in Canada because it is absurd. Americans have been selling seeds, and they jailed Tommy Chong for selling bongs on the Internet.
I know.
I think it's just absurd what they're doing to the American people as well as Canadians. Now,
I agree, Trish. I want to take one more call. Let's get to Hardy. Hardy, how are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. I also agree with your previous caller. I think the whole sentence is a joke, and the whole war on drugs, which is a whole different issue, is a joke. But the legality of it, the way he was arrested by, U.S. Jurisdiction in Canada, when Canada just, knew perfectly well what he was doing, had no problems with it, i.e. they were not going to charge him. And if anyone thinks the federal government, Harper, who doesn't understand the way the legal system should work for Canadians, and that all Canadians should be treated equal with Omar Khadr, I mean, let's face it, Marc Emery is a low-hanging fruit basket or nutcase. I mean, he's a personality, he's a character, but all the anti-pot people out there, just cringe whenever he speaks and go, look, this is what happens when you take lots of drugs and whatnot. And who knows? I mean, he probably does smoke too much of it, but anything if it's too much of, is harmful to yourself. And let's face it, I mean, the bottom line to me, and I think most people pass over it, is the way that he was arrested was an absolute joke. He was not arrested by the RCMP here in Vancouver. He was arrested by an American jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I think the RCMP drug squad or Vancouver police did accompany them, but they did not make the arrest. I mean, can you imagine if some Canadian forces went down to anywhere in the United States to make an arrest that the Americans would not do themselves? There's no damn way that would ever happen in a million years. And the fact that we in Canada let that happen and we go, oh, it's Marc Emery, who cares about him, do not understand the bigger implications of that at all.
Hardy, you're right. We're going to hear from Jody Emery up next in the rally outside the Fraser Pretrial Center. That's up next to CKNW News Talk 980. Well, call him arrogant, call him the clown prince of pot if you like, guy with a martyr complex and a messiah complex. You know what? I like Marc Emery. Speaking as a media guy, yeah, he's great on the radio. He gets people calling. He's very provocative. He's very flamboyant, and he says things that get under people's skin. But I agree with him, and I like a big personality. I mean, sometimes Canada needs more of those sort of big outre personalities who are kind of larger than life like Marc Emery. That said, I don't think the guy needs to be worshipped, and as I've said on this program before, he knew what he was getting into, but it highlights, again, the ridiculous war on drugs that is being conducted not just in the United States, but in Canada as well, which is not really a war on drugs, but a war on drug users. If you look at what the Conservative government here in Canada is proposing to do, they want to get even tougher. They want to send you to jail just for growing a few pot plants. It just doesn't make any sense to me. This is a substance that is harmful. I've never said otherwise. Yeah, it is. I don't buy the claims, and Marc Emery might say this from time to time that the damage caused by pot is minimal. It's not. This is a psychoactive drug. Of course it is. I don't think young people should be allowed to smoke it, and it does cause damage. I think it causes brain damage. I think it's horrifically hard on the lungs, particularly for chronic users and that kind of thing. But the damage pales in comparison to legal drugs like tobacco and alcohol in particular. And yet we focus so much of our resources, of our police resources, of our court resources on the battle around marijuana and around grow-ops shops and that kind of thing, and the gangs that control it because of the huge profit margin created by the prohibition against this substance. It just doesn't make any sense. And you're sending guys to jail for doing this, for selling these seeds for more time than a lot of people spend for killing people, for committing sexual assaults and that kind of thing. Absolutely doesn't make any sense. We're trying to get a hold of Jody Emery, Mark's wife. I suspect she can't hear her phone down at the rally today. So we'll just keep taking your calls right now. And the phone number's again 604-280-9898, star 9898, and long-distance toll-free 1-877-399-9898. Let's go to Nat on the open lines. Hi, Nat.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. First of all, I think all drugs should be legalized and taxed, and I don't care what it is, but that's for another day. But what Mr. Emery did was he broke a U.S. law. And I hate to tell you, we have an extradition treaty with the United States, if somebody hasn't noticed. And Mr. Emery knew that he was going to be extradited, so he, threw in the towel. And he's subject to U.S. law. And you know what? That's what happens when you break other countries' laws and you have an extradition treaty. And we have extradited people out of the U.S. And to the other fellow's point about U.S. personnel arresting people in Canada, that would be after they had gone through all the proper procedures. And I'll give you a perfect example where it goes the other way. If you try to order an illegal weapon out of the U.S., a weapon that's illegal in Canada, and some gun dealer was stupid enough to ship it to you, and the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms in the U.S. was made privy to that gun dealer would be shut down in a heartbeat, and the U.S. And the Canadian government would cooperate in extraditing him here to be prosecuted under our laws.
Maybe they would, Nat. I'm not sure about that.
It has happened. It has happened numerous times.
But is that a real parallel? I mean, a gun, and I know guns don't kill people, people kill people, but guns are dangerous weapons. Pot seeds don't kill anybody.
Pot seeds don't kill anybody, but you got to get it somewhere to grow the product, and the product's illegal. I mean, until they make it legal, you're breaking the law in a country we have an extradition treaty with. It's black and white. I agree. You should be able to smoke dope. You should be able to grow it, but you cannot do that in the U.S. And he broke a U.S. law, and he's subject to U.S. law. It's tough luck.
Let's go to Rob. Thanks, Nat. Good call. Let's go to Robert. Robert, go ahead, sir.
Hi there.
Hi.
Did he not break the U.S. law of using the U.S. postal system for delivery of the seeds?
I believe so.
That's where they got him. And same with Capone. They didn't get him on his gangster stuff. They got him on a minor thing called tax evasion.
Should Canada sign that extradition order, though? Should we give him up?
Absolutely. We need to get tough, and it's nothing to do whether the drug is legal in Canada. In this case, he broke a U.S. federal law. We have a extradition treaty with the U.S. on this, and he needs to go down there and spend 5 years to find out what maybe a baby he is. The pretrial system in Canada, we treat our people very well, too well, and maybe he needs to go there. I would like to take our pretrial and ship it off to Mexico and then bring him back for trial, see how they like the Mexicans.
Well, Robert, thanks. It may be totally legal, but I don't think it's just. I want to get one more caller on here. Let's go to Dave. Hi, Dave. Dave, go ahead. Dave's gone. Let's go to Dale. Hi, Dale. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Good. What do you think?
I think any more prohibition worldwide so everybody can liberate marijuana.
Say that again. I didn't quite get what you said, Dale.
In prohibition.
End prohibition.
Yes, in prohibition marijuana.
Well, I agree with that. That's my point exactly, Dale. And I think there's a crack developing. You see Mexico, the Mexican government decriminalizing possession of small amounts of any drug for personal use because they're fed up. They're fed up with the body count that stems directly from the war on drugs. Here in Canada, we seem to be going the opposite direction and writing laws that are going to put people in jail for growing a few marijuana plants.